out there in Packer Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Absolute Packer Podcast. We are on episode number 94. We are still in the midst of the off season. It's as the Packer world turns. We've got Aaron Rodgers drama, seemingly it's trickled off a little bit here, but it's still, every other day there's something leaking out about something or whatever. The disinformation machine is in full effect. We have Davante Adams chiming in on a couple things. He was on the Colin Cowherd show, I think. But I digress. I am Andrew Hetzel, and with me, as always, is Elliot Christensen and Jeremy Hautala. What's up, fellers?
Jeremy's texting with Aaron Rodgers right now, I think. Oh, he's got news.
I'm not giving out any sources.
Yeah. Did you
breaking
speak to
news?
No sources.
Are you speaking to your family yet, Aaron? We're concerned about that you cast your family aside. Whatever.
Nope. Got a big contract. A big extension.
That is the quote rumor that's now spreading, is that they're working on this huge extension and going to make him the highest paid player, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I mean, is it smart? Is it dumb? That was a Jawa from Star Wars getting electrocuted.
Yes.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because up here, I have an entire department in my brain.
I actually have
worthless nonsense.
I actually have several Jawas in the basement that I put to work as a form of.
You shouldn't be telling that on the air.
I mean, that's a form of enslaving Jawas against the law? They're aliens. It's fine.
Wait, did you say as a form of automation?
Yeah, it's alien slave labor is automation, as far as I'm concerned. They're like robots.
Wow, did you hear that laugh? My goodness. You broke glass with that laugh.
Yeah, I did.
Like, what's the difference? What's the difference between a Jawa and a droid, really? Fundamentally, nothing. To me, the lay Star Trek Wars fan, nothing.
Star Trek Wars? He's combining them now.
Where are we going now?
I have no idea. Man, we went off the cliff, and we are heading into a black hole from a cliff.
Wow.
But hey, look, what else is there really? I mean, nothing's really going on. I mean, outside of Rodgers,
John Oliver every week,
nonsense.
John Oliver every week, and here I am in this void. I can't stand that.
In this void?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that the Daily Show guy?
No, it's whatever.
No, that's Trevor Noah.
Yeah, John Oliver's he's got his own thing, but it's
the British guy.
Yeah, he's in this white room, and it's like, okay, like that's old now. Stop saying that. You're annoying me. That's what I feel like we're saying.
Well,
like, here we are in the
void
of the off season.
You can choose, but Elliot, it's a free market. You can choose not to vote.
I have to watch all sides. This is where we're going.
Now we're just gonna. There you go. You got. That's right. You got to see all sides to soak it in. And
in order for me to be a true Packer fan, I have to watch all the football. I have to know everything. I got to have all the knowledge. No, probably not true.
This is true. Well, on the Rodgers front, I guess we could just pose the question. Jeremy, what do you think? Do you think he's gonna? A, I guess, will he come back? And B, if he does come back, do they sign him to a massive extension?
First part, yes. I'm estimating he'll be back. I got an 80-20 split on it.
80% back?
80% back, 20% that he won't come back.
I'm kind of there too. Yeah.
Just listening to John Kuhn's interview last week, that was really compelling to me. Because he actually
Jones said something very similar too, I think.
Well, and Davante Adams was on a podcast yesterday and talked about, because he's up for contract after this year. Yeah. And he said that, hey, Rodgers is my boy. I'm going to have to think twice if Rodgers is not there, So,
and somewhere Brian Gutekunst is going, it's like, I'm gonna ship Rodgers out of here and Davante right behind him. Good luck, Brian. Good luck if that happens.
He's punched enough walls to, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And
But yes.
Mark Murphy's nervously going up and down the sled hill. If you
somebody's
drive
got
past
to.
there, and you go, oh, there he goes again. I know, really. That's like his nervous little thing. Do you remember that Seinfeld episode where that Jerry's friend would like go to Central Park and dig holes in the ground? When he would get nervous, he would literally take a shovel at the Central Park and he would dig a hole and sit in it. It's like Mark Murphy. He goes up the sled hill, just goes down and up, down and up, down and up. That would be awesome.
He's got to get his steps in.
That's good.
Who, Murphy does?
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Will he sign
like,
an
anyway?
extension?
Yeah.
Yes, he will.
Rodgers?
Yeah, I think so. And basically, what it's going to do is just going to put more guaranteed money up front for him. Which right now, I think I wrote a blog this morning about it. He has roughly about $105 million left on his 3 years of his deal, but none of that's guaranteed. So let's say, for example,
Bitcoin? Is it going to be a Bitcoin?
I mean, I don't know. He might convert some of that. His roster bonus, actually, his $6.8 million roster bonus converted into Bitcoin.
Dogecoin. Could you imagine traveling back to like 1995 and trying to explain some of this crap to people back then? You'd be like,
Back to the Future.
People would be like,
awesome.
People would be like, the internet is going to solve all these problems. It's going to be so great. And then you're going to pull up a meme of the Doge with the Dogecoin and be like, this is the future. And they're going to be like, what? And we're going to be like, yep, this is what the internet turned into. Memes and fiat currencies. I don't know.
I would have loved it. It's been great.
No. What with regards to Rodgers though, it's in a way it's like, yeah, do I want him back because we can win a Super Bowl? Do we want to sign him to some big massive extension? I don't like where that's trending, because if history is any precursor to what's going to happen, he's not going to pull a Tom Brady and take less money, and he's basically, it's just going to be kicking the can down the road, which I guess is okay, but God forbid he doesn't drop off, number one, and everything's just escalating up. I don't know. It's weird that like the guy just came off an MVP season. He was minutes away from a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here like, should we, it's almost like it would, in a way, it's like, it would be, to me, it would almost be a big mistake to do this. Like, I won't lie. It's like to do this huge extension.
It would, but, and this is where Rodgers has the power now, because he's coming off an MVP season. He can sit here and say, he could just like, hey, you need to ante up, give me something, show me that you love me. And what they'll end up probably doing is it'll be an extension, but what they're going to do is add years onto it that are voidable, so that they can spread out the guaranteed money over that life of whatever the contract may be. And he won't be around for that, whether it's 6-year extension or whatever. It's just to spread out the cap hit. So I see that pretty much being inevitable. But first, before they even get to that, they have to sit down, Murphy, Goot, and Rodgers, and LaFleur will be in the corner just chewing his fingernails. And they need to talk things out, and they need to figure out about this communication issue that they have. And Rodgers, obviously, here's the problem I see behind it. I don't think Rodgers has communicated to the Packers about how he wants communication to transpire, and that's why they're in the situation that they're in. If he would have been,
it could be a bit of everything. I think you're right.
If he would have been upfront about everything and how he wanted to have information relayed to him, I think this could have been, dodged quite a bit. But that's not where we're at.
Though, should he have to explain this to grown adults?
That's kind of where I'm at as well. It's like I'm caught in between. It's like these things, if these things have to be explained and hashed out and rationalized, part of you is worried, because you're like, this is like, it goes back to the stand-up comedy bit with Chris Rock, where he talks about people who brag about taking care of their kids, and he goes, you don't get credit for taking care of your kids. That's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So don't go around bragging about it. With Rodgers and them, it's like, hey, we need to communicate. You think? Do we need to say these things?
Have you been stewing on that all week? Because that's better than my Seinfeld analogy from last week. That's pretty darn good, man.
No, I use that one a lot. It was a great bit by Chris Rock that I pull it out whenever I can.
Though. That really fits here, and in a way, I mean, it's of course you can say that to both sides, right? But I mean, Rodgers is in the driver's seat. He is the reigning MVP. I'm sorry. He's in the driver's seat. So it's like 60-40 leaning his way.
Yeah.
And you don't get credit for doing your job. And your job is to fix this and have open communication.
And
that's it.
and if they don't do that, if they don't take care of that communication issue that's happening, then Rodgers is left between a rock and a hard place, because either he retires or he holds out. And holding out is going to be expensive. I don't know if you guys heard how much that will cost him, but the mini cap that's coming up here in June,
wasn't it like $50,000 a day or something?
$95,000 during that training camp. Part of the CBA is you can find a player. You're required to find a player up to $50,000 a day at training camp, and then your salary for each preseason game that you missed, which for Aaron Rodgers averages around $816,000. He'd be fined if he misses preseason games. So if we talk about the mini camps, training camp, preseason, this adds up to a lot of money to us, but to Rodgers, it's worth.
I know. You know the other thing, and this is where the optics really do come into play, because if it gets to that point, you are going to destroy public opinion with Rodgers if he's holding out and willingly holding out and giving up that money. I mean, that would just be unbelievable if it got to that point. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but that's what's out there. That's one of the options, I guess.
Well, listen, we have two sides here that are very type A, stubborn personalities, and
then we have Mark Murphy,
and then we have
Alfred E. Newman,
and then we have a statue in the middle of Titletown. So I mean, we have some very stubborn people that are involved in this fiasco, and that's going to be the jailbreak of who breaks, like who gets out of their zone and actually gets a little bit of a heartbeat and says, okay, we need to do this just to make this happen.
You know what's
Rodgers
funny?
Or Goot, I don't know.
I hear you. The other day I was thinking, I was like, it was just kind of a fleeting thought, but it was, say Gutekunst and Murphy or whatever, they brought Rodgers in, and this is hypothetical, but they brought him in last year to Lambeau. They didn't call him or anything. They brought him in, and they're like, here's what we're going to do. We're thinking about drafting Jordan Love, and this is why we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And they sit him down for a couple hours or whatever. It's like, I don't know if that would necessarily change anything. Because who you're dealing with is Rodgers, and he manufactures this stuff like only Michael Jordan could do.
Right, so, but then you can't clamor about the fact that there's a communication issue. Then go back on your word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I guess what I'm saying is, even if the Packers acted in complete good faith, I don't even know if Rodgers is the type of guy that would still be here in this position where he's saying, fine, move on. And I mean, because what's funny is, like, I did hear a couple quotes here and there where I think it was from 2018, maybe earlier, somewhere around that time frame, when they were asking Rodgers about what if the Packers draft their successor, and he basically said, I lived through Favre, I can't, and it's like he learned nothing. It's just I don't know. It's very. I do think that, I've been very critical of the Packers brass and less so critical of Rodgers. But look, let's be honest. It's the whole damn thing. It's everybody. I don't know.
Yes, everybody involved. Mm-hmm. And now you have players. If you follow Twitter and you follow all the Packer players, they're all kind of talking. And, there's kind of this firebomb just waiting to explode. I don't know what that could be, like if.
And you're talking about Devontae? Is that
Devontae, and there's other players too that are talking. TJ Lang's been very vocal about everything. AJ Hawk's been very vocal about everything. All players, I mean, especially AJ Hawk, he was just at the Kentucky Derby with him 2 weeks ago. So he got up and close with him. He knows him. And he says, AJ Hawk says.
By the way, did you hear that horse might get that winning horse might get disqualified because apparently he was on PEDs.
Doping.
They're doping the horses.
They're doping the horse.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord. That is not surprising, but that's where we are now. Yeah, I think I got to think that all players, whether they're current or former, I mean, they're gonna side with Rodgers, or they're going to speak. And when I say speak about it, I think of a John Kuhn or a James Jones, where they're going to speak positively about the situation without actually saying I'm in Rodgers' corner. They basically both said, I think it's going to get resolved. I'm sure they're both for Rodgers being players and all that, but James Jones and I think John Kuhn both basically said the same thing, where they think it's a high probability it's going to get resolved. And I don't know. Does that mean anything? Who the hell knows?
It doesn't at this point until we actually have right in the wall. But I mean, I think the common theme that has kind of jumped out of all of this is there's an issue, but I think it's being blown out of proportion just because Green Bay has nothing going on. And, when football is not going on, you got to bring something up. You got to bring drama up, but
what's interesting? I heard somebody say, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think this all started by his agent, just trying to push an extension so he can get more money. It's not like money overall. It's just money today. He wants the money right now. That's the biggest obstacle behind all of this.
Wouldn't it be funny if he fired his agent and he hired Bus Cook? I'd be like, oh no, Bus Cook. My buddy Bus Cook. Actually, I heard an interesting little tidbit the other day. This is like a theory. This is not, this is out in the ether, the sports radio ether. But it was interesting, and it was maybe one of the reasons we haven't heard from Rodgers directly yet was because the Packers told him to shut the hell up while they're negotiating his contract.
Yeah, because when they hired Matt LaFleur, Murphy pretty much told Rodgers, "Don't become the problem."
Yep. I do remember that. That was Ty Dunn, right? Ty Dunn's story?
Yes,
I think
that was.
And he did another story recently about he was really talking up Jordan Love, which is interesting. But Ty Dunn's an interesting guy. He actually used to be a Packers beat writer for the Journal Sentinel, I think it was. But he does write a lot of salacious pieces. He rarely, if ever, does run-of-the-mill stuff, which take it for what it's worth. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, whatever. But wouldn't that be something if they're like, there is truth that there's friction, but basically the Packers brass pulled his agent aside and said, he doesn't say anything until this is done. Nothing. I don't care.
Oh, that'd be funny.
And I mean, that would be the one time where he'd be like, okay, because the amount of money that's at stake there, they'd be like, okay, we'll sit over here and wait for $200 million or whatever. So that was an interesting thought that, I don't know. Is it true? Who the hell knows? Is it a possibility? Could be.
Well, and we've heard when Rodgers signed the extension in 2018 that they had an out after 2020.
They forced him to. Remember, they had to make him the highest paid quarterback.
They didn't have to do.
It had to be done.
No, but we always heard about the out after 2021. That's what Rodgers is trying to cover his base on. Is that, hey, I don't want an out. I want to stay here.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if, say, they sign him to an extension and it's big and all that, and they add 3 years onto it or whatever the heck, and then he's here through 26. I guess it would be. Let's just say. I mean, again, that doesn't mean it's what's going to happen, but the precarious position, and again, where I think the Packers kind of gambled on big time was, yeah, an MVP season, but if Rodgers all of a sudden just falls off a cliff, you're in a world of hurt.
They didn't anticipate 2020 happening, where he was going to be MVP
I think they went all in that he was going to either plateau at 2019 or he's going to start to decline, and then they were like, "Whoops."
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I thought 2019 and then 2020 was going to be the part where it plateaus and starts going down. That didn't happen. So
yeah, he played out of his mind.
Place.
Yeah, So, I'll be honest. If he plays as good. Maybe he could play as good. Third year in the system. got some more weapons-ish. I don't know if he could play better, but that's the tough part about extending an MVP quarterback who's in his late 30s. That's a calculated risk.
Everything's a calculated risk. Drafting Jordan Love was a calculated risk.
He's right.
This conundrum that we're in right now, it's a calculated risk on what they're going to do. So everything is a risk. You just have to be willing to throw your chips all in if that's what you feel is the best approach.
Life is a calculated risk.
And you have to remember, go back a year, we didn't even know if we'd have a season.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So
good point.
That's a very good point from the standpoint that everything got mucked up.
Right.
Everything.
So not only did we have a season,
really did, and the cap got all messed up, and
Yep. So,
yeah, that's a good point. We keep thinking that we're operating under this exact same parameters, but that was like a once in a lifetime supposedly thing. That, I don't know. So, as the world turns with Rodgers.
Well, in Packer news, there was some that happened late last week. We lost a player. Raven Green is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Or is it Grandpa Bay? Is it Grandpa Bay? I don't know.
If you can't beat him, join him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but his odds of making that team, I mean, when you look at them, they're going to be pretty slim. So
yeah, he might be a third stringer. He'd be damn near starting with us.
He was a heavy contributor for us.
Yeah. He was okay. He got hurt though, didn't he? Too.
That was the thing. He couldn't stay healthy.
That's the tale as old as time. The league, as I've said, is littered with great athletes who aren't great football players. There's also littered with tons of great athletes who have a lot of potential but can't get on the field. Can't make the club if you're in the tub.
Well, it's interesting, too, to kind of see where Joe Barry is taking this defense, because in a patent defense, the Raven Greens
biting kneecaps.
The Raven Greens of the world were big parts of his defensive scheme. And it seems like
Pettin?
Yes. Yeah, they drafted Josh Jones to have that star position that he played. Raven Green kind of took that over, and obviously was
Warren Burks.
But now who do they use as their star player? I mean, I don't know.
That's a good question. And I mean, Joe Barry, we have no idea. What talk about brand new. I mean, I guess you could kind of go on what he was doing when he was with the Rams.
He was a linebacker coach there.
Yeah. So where was he a D coordinator before that? Was he one somewhere?
With Washington in 2015, and then the Detroit Lions in 2008 when they were 0-16.
And apparently he went into a meeting in the Lions and said, "I want to bite kneecaps," and they kicked him out.
And that's when the regime started taking fold.
Oh, I love that. That's still the greatest press conference I've ever seen with a head coach.
Be hard to top.
Man alive.
Especially in title time.
I feel so bad.
We're going to go close to that.
I feel so bad saying this, but I am pulling for that guy.
I am too. I
just am.
Not against us, but everybody else. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. Everybody else will be like, I want to see. Yeah. What are you going to say, Elliot?
No, I mean always, but not against us, and especially not. Exactly. We got to have the current situation fixed before I want to make any comments.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of it. Let's not start biting kneecaps. Let's not start biting kneecaps until we have our starting quarterback figured out.
Right. I'm not rooting for the Lions.
Well, if we lose our starting quarterback, we might have to incorporate the knee biting technique. So.
Oh, okay, fair. Yep. So I was reading this.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great if, like, on the scout team on defense, there's guys that have to go back, they have to bite kneecaps when they play the Lions.
Well, I mean it's the reciprocity agreement. You gotta be able to do that. So I saw this before, and there's this Bleacher Report article from the other day saying that there's a running joke that the NFC North teams should kick in draft picks to help get Aaron Rodgers out. So, like, the idea would be that they would trade players from their practice squads for they would just like just make ridiculous trades just to kick in draft picks to go to the Packers to get Aaron Rodgers out. And I'm like, at some point, like one player can't be worth that much because, it's really just a season or two that you can really say, and that's what we're thinking. Like, like he's gonna get worse. It's a matter of just what the drop off is going to be and over what period of time, right? So it's like, I mean, it's funny, but it's ridiculous.
I hear you.
But it would be awesome.
I hear it. It's a very top heavy league, right? Very top heavy league with the superstars.
I kind of
that's
don't,
every league.
I kind of don't get it. Like, in a way, I feel like Rodgers and Favre can be certainly win games and certainly lose games, in a close matchup, right? But like, those just 40% of your salary cap type of contracts. Those are just nuts.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And talk to Tom Brady, who has less than 20% or something.
Yeah,
he's under 10%.
Look at that.
And I mean, and
Rodgers is at 20.
But why does he do that? I mean, the short answer Brady. Is he wants to win, but he's kind of being a chump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
He's kind of wrecking it for everybody else in a way.
Well, no. I think he's just wrecking it for himself, because it's like the other ones are like, everybody else is like, well, whatever, he's going to win the Super Bowl. I don't care. I'm going to get paid then.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. Yeah. I think, with Rodgers. No, I hear you. With Rodgers in particular, that's an interesting. I know where you're getting at. With the way the Packers do business, the Packer way, going back to Thompson, basically for Rodgers' tenure when Thompson was a GM. I think I've said on here a couple of times that he knows what the Packers are about and how they do it, and so he's just like, screw it, I'm just going to get mine. If they're not going to load up on a bunch of free agents and try to load up on a team for me, not even once, i.e. seeing what Brady's doing and stuff like that, he's just like, screw it, I'll get all the money I can get. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I think it
would be nice to know.
I don't think he did that early on. I think it turned that turned later, and that might have really turned in 2018 when he signed that huge extension. That might have been the plateau of that thought process where he's like, they're not going to go out and get anybody, so screw it, I'll take all the money. It's an interesting theory. Might be some truth to it.
I mean, they don't go get free agents, right?
Well, they don't. They get free agents, but they're typically. I mean, outside of the Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith,
right?
I mean, those are pretty big splash free agents that were really good players. Typically, they're going out and they're getting semi-solid guys.
Your second and third tier guys.
Yeah, second and third tier free agent type guys. So
right.
So yeah,
And I'm cool with that.
I listen to this though. I read a very interesting thing today. I forgot to tell you guys this. This was comparing Brady and Rodgers and the whatever. So now Brady played 20 years, I think, in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But they said so. Rodgers played 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were comparing the first 16 years of the tenures of Rodgers and Brady with their respective franchises, and it said that in Brady's 16 years that he played for the Patriots, they never drafted a wide receiver in the first round.
Yep.
They never did that with Rodgers. But the caveat there is they brought in first round picks. They may not have drafted him, but don't forget Randy Moss. In 2000, he had him for 3 years or whatever, right? And even others so they got them through other methods, but they never drafted one in the first 16 years. And they may have never done it in Brady's entire tenure. It was just an interesting thing. I was like, oh, it kind of surprised me.
Well, in the most recent one, Brandon Cooks, when they traded a first round to New Orleans for him, he played there 1 year and then he moved on to the Rams. But yeah, they traded a first round draft pick for Brandon Cooks. So it's not like they haven't invested the capital where we truly have we haven't traded.
They've never drafted one in the first round, is what it was.
Yeah, there you go.
It wasn't that they never acquired one; it was that they never drafted one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that was interesting.
That's worth it. You think it's worth it? To get a I don't know, like a top tier player,
wide receiver in the first round.
Well, like to get a top tier player.
What are you asking?
In for a first round pick, and the salary cap hit, but you only get them for a season.
I think it depends on where you're at. I mean, if you're kind of a rebuilding franchise, it's one thing. If you are on the cusp,
yeah,
or if you're perennially good, I mean, the funny thing with Randy Moss, going back to that, they got him for like what? They didn't get him for. They didn't have to trade a first round pick. I think they got him for a second or a third
or fourth round picks or something.
The Patriots got Randy Moss. Like a fourth round pick, and then the guy caught 22 touchdown passes that first year.
Mm-hmm.
That was what really made Favre mad with Thompson, because it was Ted Thompson didn't want a part. He goes, "I'll give you a fourth, not a third," and that was where he drew the line on Randy Moss, and so he ended up going to New England. It's like, but to your point, Belichick is pretty shrewd how he runs things. I think if you're close, or you have Brady in his prime, and you're a different organizational philosophy, it could definitely be worth it.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that you build your team through the draft and you fill the holes with free agency.
Yeah, I agree. Completely.
And I think the Packers live up to that. But like, if there's a player, like, if
there's a generational player, or there's a great player to be had, and you might have to part with a draft pick 1 year, a coveted draft pick 1 year, but he's a proven great player, the Packers are never in on that. Ever.
No, it's been a while since that has happened, but like,
I should say under Thompson and Gutekunst, that will never happen.
Let's say, for example, they could go out and they would trade a first round draft pick for. I'm just trying to think of somebody at the top of my head.
You're thinking of an offensive player, or does it even matter?
No, defense. A real difference maker.
Aaron
Donald would command more than one first round draft pick, but I would like to
more than one. You think?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But let's say we were in the Khalil Mack sweepstakes, and
weren't we?
We were. We didn't have enough capital, or we didn't put capital in it, and I think the Bears anticipated the Raiders were going to be worse, so they took that.
That's right. Or no, the Raiders thought the Bears.
The Bears, sorry.
Yep.
But let's say we were in that, and we were to the last minute. I would have no problem making that trade because he's a proven commodity, and he's a all-pro caliber player that is a difference maker. And I think that's
he's not a good player. He's a great player, right?
Yes.
He's not a good player.
Yes.
And I would define a good player as above average.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a great player is well above average, if not elite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a delineation there. I'm trying to, like Adrian Amos, I would classify him as a good player.
A good player.
Yeah.
But he's not a great player.
Right. A difference maker. Right.
Yeah. A Khalil Mack, like he's saying, is like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he's proven. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We will never know.
Yeah, no doubt.
We live in Titletown where, big news actually is big news, and no news is no news.
Right.
And that's what we live in the off season.
Yeah. Now the schedule comes out tomorrow?
Tomorrow night.
Well, maybe we should record it. I was going to say,
is it going to be a 3-day? Is this going to be a 3-day NFL event where they'll divide up the first 4 games on Wednesday, the next 4 games? So it's like the way they drag that mess out.
No, the draft is a completely different animal. But basically, tomorrow night,
I could see that 5 years from now, the NFL doing that, and be like a ratings.
There's no need to extend that into more than 1
2
hour.
words: free market. Got to get that money.
No. Yeah,
why do they drag out the draft for 3 days? Do you think they do that for their health? They do that for money.
Of course.
So,
well, you know what?
If they could make money.
So yes, but I think also fans like there being some kind of a big deal in the off season, like just a taste of something,
Yeah, I'm being somewhat facetious. It's definitely money. That's number one. Number two is to kind of put more fanfare and kind of pomp and circumstance.
As dopey as it was,
when there is no season, to your point, it's in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, it was dopey with the corrals of people. It was kind of weird and like it's sort of like
corrals.
I don't know. It felt like
the golden corrals of people.
It just was. It was weird. The whole vibe for that thing was just weird. But I mean,
did they have a chocolate fountain?
They probably did. Probably did.
Willy Wonka.
They have one at the Golden Corral. They got the chocolate fountain with the strawberries. Oh yeah.
It felt like
I've been there one time about 8 years ago.
It had like a Hunger Games feel to it. It was just really weird to me. But
Hunger Games. That's
I don't know.
That was a good get.
Yeah.
Just had a weird vibe, but it was interesting to watch, and it was entertaining. I mean, it's not the way I would have done it, but that made it almost more entertaining. It was a little unpredictable in that way, but I don't know. It was fun.
I think in the off season, to your point, you still got to manufacture drama, and there's some drama.
Yeah,
obviously waiting for your pick, and it's your team and all that. I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I generally don't watch them. Like, I might tune in if I know like I can make it and I can watch the Packers draft pick for the first round. Like, I might do that.
I don't think I've watched a draft
but
I don't think I've watched a draft in 4 years.
Yeah, but I watched a lot more of this one, and it was like the whole pageantry of it was interesting, even in the weird times we have. It was
pageantry
weird. It was weird. Oh, you know what?
Well, I think the cool thing, because
what's up?
Oh, no. You finish your thought, Jeremy. Because then I have another thing.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the cool thing, because back in the day when they conducted drafts, they always had, Paul Tagliabue, and then his, underlings announce the second day, or I should say the picks after the second round.
Underlings.
And now you have like Rashawn Gary called the Packers.
That's pretty cool.
Pick, and I mean
like that.
That brings a little bit of camaraderie from the teams, and also when Rashawn Gary was up there and he said he drafted Josh Myers.
Oh, that's
and
right.
He's like, go blue, and
yeah, because he hates Ohio State.
Quirky little thing to it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
It was cool. And even Macho Man, when he was there.
Yeah, that was super weird.
It was really weird. And then that comedian comes up and does a mic drop incident where I forgot what he was talking about. It was some rapper.
No, that was
some white
Machine
rapper.
Gun Kelly. Yeah,
some
Machine Gun Kelly.
White rapper.
Yeah,
some white rapper.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about either. And like, what are you doing? Like, it was just everything was random. It was super weird. Yeah,
it was.
God, that's funny. It's funny, for whatever reason, Leroy Butler in 2012, I remember the Packers brought him in to announce a pick, and the pick he announced was Jarrell Worthy.
Yeah.
And he was so jacked up. I'm like,
speaking of Leroy Butler, I don't know if you heard about the drama, but I think it was Bleacher Report. I could be wrong on the source.
Drama.
But they had they asked all these NFL players, what was your favorite NFL stadium to play in? And Adam Thielen from the Vikings.
Oh, yeah. He crapped all over Lambeau.
Commented, and I don't know if you saw Leroy Butler's tweet, but he posted a picture.
What did he say?
He posted a picture of his ring and then his vodka brand and said, if you want to come and look at my Super Bowl ring while you're sitting in Lambeau, just give me a call.
Oh, I love it. I love Leroy Butler. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should.
It's a travesty that he's not.
Yeah, that was
what do you got, Elliot?
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to bring up. I'm like, we didn't talk about that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No. That's good. But I mean, he's not wrong though. The thing that he was talking about is the bleacher seats.
About the stadium?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, your seats must not have a lot of large people in them then, because in your row, because it's tight quarters most of the time.
It's tight.
Yeah. So like, it's weird. The bleacher seats is a little weird. It is weird. For a modern stadium.
That's like them holding on to tradition. Yeah, that's them holding on to tradition for silly reasons. I mean, I hear what you're saying there. It's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but the Vikings, I'm like, really? It's like if you're gonna call it Lambeau Field,
Well, they
what
just got a
Ron
brand new
Wolf called
stadium.
the cathedral of the National Football League.
Right. But I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah,
I think piece of crap.
I don't know. I think that's what he's saying.
That shiny new edifice you got up there with a trophy case that has nothing in it.
Right.
Name that team, the Minnesota Vikings.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
Although I love Scramblin Fran. Went to UGA.
Yeah.
He's a Bulldog.
That's true.
Yeah.
Scramblin Fran.
You'll give anybody a pass.
Was that his name coming into the league? Was that Fran's name coming into the league, or was that his name as he became an NFL
That's
player?
a good question. I don't know. I just know he was Scramblin Fran when he was with the Vikings. But yeah, I will give a lot of people a pass if they went to UGA. Those I have a soft spot there. I mean, our first round pick, UGA.
Yeah.
Stokes.
Didn't he
actually? I saw something the other day. Who? Rand Targeted?
Yeah. Yeah, there was some show in the 70s or 80s.
I don't know.
I don't know. There's some show that I was.
But get this. So let's make a deal. I don't know. Now I'm just throwing crap out.
Something.
But there was an infographic that had. I might have sent it in Slack where it was like the SEC and how many players are drafted from teams in the SEC. Alabama had 11 players drafted, but Georgia had 10.
Did you see how many of Alabama's picks were in the first round?
Oh my God, 9 or something like that. It was like
6.
Think about that.
And 4 of those players were in the top 10.
Think about that. That is
right.
I remember. I'll never forget when Nick Saban left the Dolphins. He's like, "I'm going to Alabama," and I'm like, "Good luck with that." 20 years later, I'm like, "Whoa!" he's like leaving Bear Bryant in the dust. It's just that is 6 first round picks.
Yeah.
Wow. That is. Yeah, he's a machine, man.
Mm-hmm.
But UGA, I mean, I've made this comment about UGA. They churn out NFL talent. They just can't get over the hump in college. They have a lot of individual pieces of talent that do pretty well in the league. But
I see why you like University of Georgia and the Packers. Number one, they have the same emblem, and number two, they're always close.
Shared trademark.
They never get over the hump.
I know. Yes, it's very frustrating.
Glutton for punishment.
I'm trying to think of the last UGA player that was drafted by the Packers. You know who it was? I think Jarius Wynn. Remember him?
Yes.
Defensive end, Super Bowl year, 2010.
Yeah.
Late pick.
Yeah, I think he was Georgia. I think you're right.
He was. Trust me. I remember the Georgia players, especially when the Packers drafted him. I think that was the last one. God, I'll have to look back through that, but yeah. No, they had some great. I mean, the New England Patriots. They had Robert Edwards. Remember him? I mean, tore up his knee, but Robert Edwards was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him play at Georgia, and then Richard Seymour became a Hall of Famer. Champ Bailey, Hines Ward,
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker. He was like Pocket Bo Jackson, as I like to call him. You know about Herschel Walker now, though?
Yeah.
He has like borderline personality disorder. He has a severe mental illness. It's very sad. Severe. I mean, just a phenomenal athlete, but he's troubled, I guess, to say the least. Yeah. It's been known for a long time not a whole lot of people know that outside of like diehards of UGA and whatnot, but it's kind of sad. No.
Yeah, back when the NFL didn't take player safety to its utmost
he's been that way
importance,
since he was like in high school.
Yeah, but I think it really
it exacerbated. I'm sure he got CTE or whatever, but it's sad, no doubt.
It is.
Watch highlights of Herschel Walker in his rookie year at Georgia.
Ridiculous.
I mean, just like I said, he was a pocket Bo Jackson because Bo Jackson, I would say, is probably the best pure athlete America has ever produced. It's just speechless what Bo Jackson did, but Herschel Walker was close to Bo, but not quite. And I think it was because of his mental issues.
But did you hear Herschel Walker's workout routine and what that all entailed? Push-ups, like 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and then running hills every day.
Elliot, this guy would do I want to say 1,000 push-ups a day.
A day.
A day.
Yeah, in the morning. That's what I do in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, he watches it on YouTube on 8x speed.
1,000 push-ups. Dang.
But think about that. 1,000 push-ups every day for 30 years.
Dang. Yeah.
And plus he's doing 500 sit-ups. I mean, he was a brick.
Oh yeah, he was.
But I mean, but yeah, watch him and Bo Jackson, obviously. Bo Jackson remember when Bo Jackson used to break bats over his knees?
Oh, his knee. Yeah.
And then he broke one over his head.
Yeah.
Broke over his head.
God, yeah.
He strikes out and he goes, crank. And you're like, what? He was just on another level. Yeah, and he could throw a baseball from center field warning track to home plate on the fly. He could throw a baseball 420 feet.
He was also from the SEC too.
Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, he's a very interesting dude. He's big into archery now.
Yeah.
If you know that. He's a semi-pro archery guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool.
But yeah, when you watch, it's when he first got in the NFL, let alone just being in college, Bo Jackson, it's if you were on defense, say you were a safety, it's I'd just be be my guest. Well, I wouldn't want any part of him.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I mean, Brian Bosworth was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks at the time.
Oh, he trucked him.
And that was the big one-on-one. And that Monday Night Football game, he fricking just ran him over like he was nobody.
And it ruined his career.
Yeah, he wasn't the same player since.
Short career that he had. They had, I think it was a 30 for 30 or something on ESPN or something about Brian Bosworth, the Boz. Did you ever see it?
Yep.
Really good.
It was really good.
It was so good. And what's interesting about Bosworth is he reminds me of Tony Mandrich in the sense that he was all this hype and all this media built up, and then he completely failed on the highest level, but he pretty much owned it, later.
Right.
And it is rare for guys of that magnitude to just own stuff straight up, 'cause I'm sure it's not easy to do, but that I remember that Boswell was really good. The Tony Mandrich interview, I think I told you guys about with that comedian Theo Vaughn. God, you got to see that podcast. It's amazing how Tony Mandrich really turned himself around. It is stunning. He is literally the exact opposite of who he was.
Really?
Just reinvented his entire personality. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great.
And then to that point, I think Brian Bosworth did the same exact thing. When you watch that documentary and he was at Oklahoma on the field and you could tell he was enamored by being there, but he was in the moment of that was then and today. Yeah. I can't even compete with that.
I think the psychology of that's interesting because with Mandrich, Mandrich had some addiction issues. He was a full-blown alcoholic, and he was talking a lot with Theo Vaughn about AA and finding that and, really transforming his life. So and with Bosworth, I don't think it was necessarily that, but when things humble you and bring you to your knees, practically physically, and you can learn from it and actually give into it and recognize it, that's when you can do things like that. When you're in constant denial or your ego is constantly in the way, but it's you have to get completely destroyed to build yourself back up. And your foundation turns to dust and then you rebuild. And that's why it's so rare. Cause it's just but when you do, you're it's so cool.
It's so rare because to be an athlete, you have to have this supreme ego. And to get there, you're just above and beyond everybody else. But to get down to the level that you're just an everyday citizen like you and I, and you can actually admit it, that takes a lot of guts, because it takes a lot of work.
And it makes you so much more honest, and it just clears all this crap out of your head. So that's like when I was watching this podcast with Tony Mandrich, I was like halfway in, I was like, I was like captivated by this thing, and I'm like, why am I so captivated by Tony Mandrich? But it was because he like completely changed his life, and it was great. Anyway, sorry about that little
no, that was a good one.
Side thing. I might watch that Bosworth one again. I want to see that.
Yeah, it was a 30 on 30. Yeah, it's really good.
All right,
and the other component of those guys, real quick. Wait, one more thing. Sorry.
Oh, no, go for it.
Of just so I don't lose this, with Mandrich and Bosworth, was both of their parents. They were like really driven. And like there was a scene with Bosworth where he's like in a storage trailer, I think at the beginning, and he's looking through stuff, and he's he was talking about how his dad, it's like their parents vicariously lived through them, and like they produce these troubled souls, the parents did, and it's sad to see that too. But to overcome that, I think is big too.
There's probably a lot of that in the NFL.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think of recently, Charles Woodson kind of fits that mold.
That's a good point. He's kind of like a smaller version of that, but yeah, he was kind of he's definitely, and I credit that to coming to Green Bay, and kind of getting humbled by coming to Green Bay.
Yeah.
But think about like, I don't know about maybe Brett Favre, but I mean, any like constant, if people are constantly, and I mean constantly, telling you you're the best thing ever all the time, constantly, just that could really mess up your head. You wonder, but it's like, if that's all you get, and people and women throw themselves at you, and you don't even have to do anything, and you just get into this weird cloud of literally like an alternate reality. And so to be like years and decades later undo that, that is what marvels me, like the Mandrich, because he was talking about all the the women and all this stuff, and to be able to undo that is just, I don't know, it fascinates me. I don't have that problem. Have everybody telling me I'm great all the time, and women throw themselves at me.
Well, but like you said, that's good. God, that's a curse.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, who does deal with that? I'm trying to think of like who's a really good, actual humble, like big superstar. They really don't exist.
Well, it depends how they got there. Right.
The only one I can really think of, like in this generation, if you will, is like LeBron James. He really seems to, because I mean, I'm sure but you'd figure you'd hear something about something going on there, right? And the fact that he got into the league when he was 18, there's a guy where you're like, I remember when he first came in, I'm like, this guy's not going to make it that long. He's 18. He's got $30 million, whatever. Everybody's been telling him since he was 2 years old, he was the best. And he's made it pretty clean. Not perfect, but LeBron James seems like a guy who'd be, because look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is, he's like the cautionary tale in a way.
I was going to say a little bit of Kobe Bryant too. I think his early years, he was a little bit more brash, but as he got older,
he definitely did.
He was definitely a cool dude and somebody that you could have a beer with and talk to all night.
And I honestly forgot about that whole rape allegation thing that happened in Colorado.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Because when they brought it up after he died, I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, Kobe Bryant definitely changed and matured and whatnot. Tiger Woods. You think he'll ever play professional golf again?
He's done.
Yeah.
He'll play some charity golf, but that's it.
And to think that guy at one point was going to blow by Jack Nicklaus in his his major championships record. And I remember distinctly saying right before that incident in Thanksgiving, like 10 years ago, where it all came out, he had just won the U.S. Open on like a busted knee too. He had like torn ACL and he won the freaking U.S. Open. But I remember I go, the only guy who's going to be able to stop this guy is him. It's the only guy who's going to stop Tiger Woods. And sure as hell, because he was going to get like 30 majors.
Easy.
And now he's not even going to break Jack. He did it to himself. Crazy. He's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Well, I hope like years down the road, this Rodgers saga will come out in full detail so we can actually
no kidding
learn about the ins and outs of how that all happened and who told who and whatever and who didn't tell who. And I can't wait for that stuff to come out.
Salacious.
It's a word.
Agreed. Yep. Well, we kind of took a turn at the end, but that was fun. I like talking about that stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a weird time. I mean, I think there's a lot more to talk about once the schedule comes out and a lot to look forward to. I mean, we could have a whole bunch of more news tomorrow. That's the unfortunate timing of this, but is what it is.
Oh.
So I think all
right.
Much more next week.
That's true. All right, go Pack Go.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Podcast.
Chair. I know, right?